"How does it feel, Sir Matthew?" Pete asked, after he finished assembling Doughboy around me. "Well, it's still snug, but in a good way, I think," I told him. "The changes made in the padding make a big difference. This is nice. I could probably fall asleep in this thing if I wanted. And it's weird, but as hot as it's been outside today, it feels pretty nice in here. Temperate even. Did you install air conditioning?" "Not quite. Not enough room in the casing for it," Pete said. "Instead, an extremely effective liquid coolant is circulating throughout the armor. In an ordinary machine, this substance would provide too much cooling, but the high levels of heat that Doughboy's miniaturized engines generate necessitates its use. By carefully arranging the placement of the cooling tubes and the waste heat ventilation, I've been able to set a stable internal temperature that the armor's occupant should find acceptable." "I like it," I said happily. "That's a clever fix, Bart. Beats having to wear a cooling suit. Dang thing made me look like a Power Ranger cosplayer."
"How's your balance?" Pete asked.
"Perfect. I feel like I'm tiptoeing through the grass right now. Joint movement feels completely natural too. Looks like all the hours of training you put me through has paid off nicely, Pete. Moving in this thing feels just like moving my own body." I raised my arms and began throwing punches into the air while moving left and right, imitating a prize fighter doing some shadowboxing. Which was impressive because I was currently inside of a 9-foot tall set of gunmetal grey battle armor. Pete had been a real taskmaster about me gaining proficiency with our new toy. He made me spend hours doing stuff like walking up and down a set of stairs, and writing with a pen and paper while I was suited up. Then I'd do hours of running, weapons practice, and even some light gymnastics, if you can believe it. Even when I wasn't wearing Doughboy, Pete had me training relentlessly in unarmed grappling, boxing, and rugby of all things, with coaching bots created specifically to whip me into shape. Now, I hadn't been a scrawny fella beforehand or anything, but heck, under Pete's tutelage, I was now twice the fighter I'd been before. And with all the restful sleep and good food I was getting these days, the physical changes taking place in my body were very noticeable. As my grandpa would have put it, I was now FFFF. Fit for fighting or fucking. That wasn't military slang or anything. My grandpa had just liked making up acronyms.
"Remember, Doughboy's advantage lays in applying overwhelming force to all situations," Peter told me. "It is not just a hammer, it is the grandfather of all hammers. You need to grow accustomed to literally pushing your weight around. Domineering and bullying tactics are what this armor excels at. Trampling over others will be your speciality."
"Bull in a china shop, huh?" I asked him.
"More like a rhino on an eggshell," he corrected me.
"Dang!" I whistled. "Pete, I love this damn suit," I said to him. Equipment like this made me feel like a kid at Christmas. Hey, whip us up a mirror so I can take a good look at this thing before we head out.
"Your wish is my command," Pete promptly said.
Within a moment, a massive mirror appeared before us, allowing me to see my reflection. Or rather, I couldn't see anything of myself at all. Instead, there was a hulking metal monster looking back at me with lightly glowing blue eyes. If I had to best describe its form, it would be a statue of the Fat Buddha, combined with a gorilla covered in steel, with a touch of that puffy-looking android from Big Hero 6 mixed in. The roundness of the suit had compelled me to originally dub the armor Fat Boy, but Pete thought that name was mean-spirited, as well as disrespectful towards people suffering from hormonal imbalances that compel them to overeat. After bickering over it for 3 hours, we settled on Doughboy as a compromise. I liked it because I thought it sounded funny, and Pete liked it because it was a nickname for soldiers back in the early 20th century. I had to admit, this armor sure did tickle me pink. I'm an average-sized fella, but if you saw me wearing this thing, you'd wonder if I was overcompensating for tiny genitals or something. Pete had taken my orders to construct a juggernaut to the next level. If you couldn't be intimidated by the sight of a 9-foot-tall, 4-foot-wide metallic bully looming over you, then maybe you should be the one wearing my forge ring. Although I was greatly pleased by what I saw in the mirror, I still felt like Doughboy was missing just a little bit of something that would complete his look. But what could it be? This thing was already so cool, it surely didn't need much. So, what was it? What did Doughboy require? And then it hit me, and I wondered how I could have ever not seen it. "One last thing, Pete," I said to him. "Make this big boy a cape."
"Any moment, men. Be ready. I want him swarmed with relentless arrow shots as soon as he reveals himself. Wizards need to concentrate to maintain their defensive spells. Everything that eats away at his focus will weaken him,"
Azrak instructed his warriors as they awaited their opponent.
"Don't just rush him from the front, attack from all sides, while bellowing your war cries in his ears until they deafen him. Howl for his blood. Make him falter through sheer intimidation. The moment one of his shields collapses, the others will follow. Keep his retreat cut off, and we'll have him. The one who delivers the killing blow shall have first pick of his treasures, unless I want it for myself. Do not fail me!"
The orcs roared their understanding, eager to a man to please their captain. Azrek grinned at their eagerness for blood, and their desire to bring down a powerful opponent. He felt it himself, after all. One didn't become a raid captain by being timid. He felt the desire to destroy just as much as they. No, he felt it more. But now his urges were tempered with experience, and which made them far more lethal.
"Come on, you filthy little human worm. Entertain me with your pleas for mercy," he thought.
The foremost wall began to open itself. Azrek stared, astonished by what he saw. There was no door, no hinges, nothing even resembling a proper gate mechanism. The wall simply opened up, with portions of it flowing in opposite directions as though they were made from liquid, until there was a large hole in the centre. Azrek had never seen anything like it before, not even in the towers of the other spellcasters he had slain.
"No matter. Now we take him." "Forward!"
he cried, leading the charge himself to invade the keep. A charge that collapsed just as quickly as it began, when a massive figure stepped through the opening. A crimson-caped figure in dour grey armour, with strange, disproportionately huge limbs and massive barreled chest. Although he stood hunched over as he exited the keep, once he straightened his back, his height was stunning. What was this thing? A half-ogre? A tame troll? A mortal descendant of a giant? Azrek had no bloody idea. He just knew it was too big. Then, the helmeted figure turned to look in his direction, and in that moment Azrek felt a flash of mortal terror. This night creature's eyes were glowing. They were an eerie, unnatural blend of blue and white, which emanated from the slotted visor of that strange helmet. In that moment, Azrek realized this thing was no natural-born creation. It had to be a war golem. Something he'd heard stories of for years, but never truly believed existed. A powerful enforcer that only the greatest of magic wielders could control. "Howdy!" thundered a familiar-sounding voice that rose from the depths of the nightmarish figure's throat. "Glad you waited for me, pard. Are you ready to do this thing? Wait, hold on a moment. Pete, could you adjust the volume for me, please? It's a little loud, don't you think?" "No, don't tell me it's fine. We're blaring at these folks. I'm standing right in front of them, man. It's not like I'm calling out my niece in the middle of a boy band concert, right? We can definitely stand to be a lot quieter." "Alright then. Yeah, this is good. This is so much better. No, I'm not mad at you. I just don't want these guys thinking that we're deliberately being assholes, that's all." The knight cleared his throat before speaking again. As I was saying, thanks for waiting for me. Now, are you ready to do this thing?"
I thought you said you were human,"
Azrek said after the pain in his ears receded. "I am human," the knight replied.
"Are you wearing that thing like a suit of armor?"
Azrek asked him. "It is a suit of armor," the human said, "and yep, I'm right here wearing it. Don't think poorly of me. I just wanted to make myself look pretty for all this fine company, that's all." One of Azrek's warriors lurched forth nervously and whispered,
"Captain, should we retreat? A war golem is surely beyond our ability to battle." "Coward!" Azrek hissed as he backhanded his foolish subordinate. "There's only one of him. All tales of monsters are exaggerated. Once we knock this ridiculous fool on his back, he'll be trapped like a helpless tortoise. Now forward!"
"For glory!" screamed a particularly fanatical orc, who raised his sword and ran forth, swinging it as hard as he could against the left side of the human's waist, only to stare blankly at his broken weapon where the blade had shattered on impact. "What does this mean?" the confused orc asked himself as he regarded his sword. The knight raised a single mammoth fist and brought it down in a swift, hammering motion on the top of the orc's skull, that splattered his head and left his neck bent at an unnatural angle. "I think it means you're in trouble, son," he said amiably. Doughboy Field Test 1. Durability. Early into the fight, the orcs gave up on using their bows, and chased a swarm at the knight, using their melee weapons.
"Cleave him! Cut him! Break him!"
shrieked the increasingly unhinged Azrek as the battle went on. For his part, the knight did not make any attempts to counter their furious blows. Instead, he gloatingly mocked their efforts and encouraged them to keep trying. At one point, he even held both his hands behind his back and let the larger warriors swing their brutal war clubs directly at his head. Eventually, the sheer weight of their superior numbers managed to get him off his feet, but even then, they could find no way to wound the monster, nor cut off his hair. In the meanwhile, the knight lay there, laughing at them.
"What is he thinking?"
Azrek wondered in bewilderment. "With a little bit of love, I sang in accompaniment with the music playing on Doughboy's internal sound system. And some tenderness, we'll walk upon the water, we'll rise above the mess. With a little peace and some harmony, we'll take the world together. We'll take them by the hand. Pete, join me in for the chorus, man.
Yes, sir, Pete said enthusiastically.
Together we both belted out. 'Cause I have a hand for you. Oh, I want to rhyme with you. Take it, Pete.
Yesterday, he sang, I saw you standing there, your head was down, your eyes were red, no comb had touched your hair, and I said, look, get up and let me see you smile. We'll take a walk together, walk the road a while.
Dang, Pete has some pipes in him. I should ask him to sing more often. Oh, chorus time. 'Cause I've got a hand for you,
I've got a hand for you, 'cause I want to run with you, won't you let me run with you, yeah. Hold my hand, want you to hold my hand. Hold my hand, I'll take you to a place where you can be. Hold my hand, anything that you want, because...
Pete and I shouted this part as loudly as we could.
I want to love you, the best that I can. Oh, this is fun, I'm enjoying this, Pete said happily.
Me too, pard. I don't care if Darius Rucker only switched to country to sell more records. I love that damned song.
So Matthew, the Hesketh appear to be attempting to crush us by rolling a large rock over our body.
Shoot, really? Well, I guess that's it for the durability test. How would you score us?
Nothing but superficial scratches to our exterior, sir. No internal damage registering anywhere in our system. Orcs possess incredible physical strength too, which means Doughboy's level of durability is quite remarkable. Doughboy, field test 1. Durability. Score 5 out of 5.
Keep at it, Ashrak commanded. Keep pounding away at him. Is he weakening? I think he's weakening. Do not relent.
A half-dozen orcs were sent flying away when the knight suddenly exploded into motion. The rotund metal figure nimbly returned to its feet with a level of fine control that should have been impossible for something its size.
What is fucking happening here? Ashrak cursed in amazement.
Doughboy field test 2. Maneuverability.
They couldn't keep up with him. Every attempt was stigmatized by his speed and grace. The Hesketh couldn't even get their hands on his damned red cloak, which he would snatch away and hold in a manner that Terrans would have recognized as the style of a professional matador. The orcs' every attempt to land a blow on this fool had become a withering dance of one-sided mockery and contempt, which only fueled their anger and frustration further hideous levels. Any desire for strategy was tossed away in their urge to kill. Bloodlust and hate was all they now felt. Even Azrek had completely lost himself to the desire to peel the metal off this ridiculing bastard and rip the skin off his face with his teeth.
Doughboy, field test 2, maneuverability. Score 5 out of 5.
Oh, I think they're starting to feel a little sore with us, pard, I said to Pete.
Indeed, sir. May I recommend we now test our melee combat capability?
Are you talking about big country? I asked him eagerly.
Indeed I am, Pete replied, like a father indulging his favourite child.
Dang, these orcs were a gift. They really were. It was a real shame I was about to kill them all.
Stand still, damn you!
Screeched one of the raiders, as he rushed mindlessly towards the knight, only to bounce away with a broken nose when his foe promptly did what was asked of him. The knight held out an empty hand, and moments later it was filled by a sword. A ridiculously large white and gold blade that was even larger than the massive knight himself.
How are you even lifting that fucking thing?
The orc croaked out, seconds before the sword came crashing down on him. King Arthur had Excalibur, Guts had the Dragon Slayer, Conan had the Blade of Crom, and as for me, Matt Sky, the Forge Knight, I had Big Country. I figured since I was now going to be running around wearing this ridiculous armour, I deserved to have an equally ridiculous signature weapon to go along with it. And for me, Big Country was that weapon. It was a two-handed greatsword forged from the same materials Pete had crafted Doughboy out of. A sword that was even taller and wider than the armour itself. It was a whole lot of sword. I knew that holding this thing had to look like a cartoon character, but it felt so good. Pete had thought a warhammer would have been more appropriate to go along with our forging theme, but that felt like it would have been encroaching on Borman's territory. Besides, swords are just cooler. Sorry not sorry, hammer wielders. With Big Country in hand, I mowed through the orcs like they were nothing. A blade this fat can't be particularly sharp due to its sheer thickness, but with Doughboy's augmented strength behind each swing, that didn't matter in the slightest. I didn't just cut through the orcs like they were butter. I cut through them like they were melted butter.
Doughboy field test 3. Melee. Score 5 out of 5. Time to move on, sir, Pete said a few minutes later, which I was very reluctant to do. I don't wanna, I complained. Big country must be fed. Regrettably, Sir Matthew, it would seem that you were too effective with your sword. Your attack has broken their resolve. The survivors are currently running for their lives while cursing you as some sort of battle demon. Shoot, a battle demon? I don't feel like I'm particularly demonic. A few of them seem convinced you are a minor war deity. Oh, well, that's not good. My mum wouldn't like it if she thought I was tricking people into worshipping me like a false god. That's something Kiefer would do. The more you mention your brother, the more glad I feel never to have met him. A position I can only envy, Pard. Hey, are you sure I couldn't just chase these guys down? Doughboy's fast enough. Sir, it's a field test. It should be administered properly. Don't be disappointed. There will be plenty of future opportunities to cut down your enemies with your fearsome blade. Fine, I guess, I pouted. Would you like to test Doughboy's ranged weaponry, sir? Pete asked. Nah, I replied. They're just dual miniguns. We already have a good idea of their effectiveness from the work we put in with old Bird. No, I think we're done for the day. Oh hey, I almost forgot in the midst of all the fun. How did the satellite network turn out? Are our eyes in the sky now active? They are. My visual range now extends to virtually the entire planet, Pete said. I can see everything. Pete, don't say that in a way that scares people, I chided him. My apologies, sir. But what shall we do with the remaining Hesketh? Ineffective as they are against you, there will still be a considerable danger to anyone else they encounter. That's true, I said. I guess we'll just have you keep an eye on them until they get back to their hideout. Shall I dispatch the gun droids to eliminate them afterwards? Nah, that might take a while. I think the railgun will do for them. Oh, excellent choice, sir. A tower suddenly rose from the ground in the centre of the inner courtyard. On top of it, a massive cannon the size of a diesel truck was mounted. It sat there ominously, awaiting further instructions from Pete. That evil-looking beauty was the main reason we built those observation satellites to begin with. Our elven neighbours to the east would eventually learn that Vexephius was dead, and that I claimed his land. That might motivate his friends to attack Defiance Keep later, which I just couldn't have happening. This was my house. You don't lay siege to my house, that's rude. So for a little peace of mind, Pete and I built a colossal railgun. And now that we could watch our enemies 24/7, they'd never be able to get at us before we got them. Thanks, Pard. Hey, we got any of those steaks left over? I do believe I've worked up an appetite. I'll have one warmed up at once. Awesome. Pete, I think I'm starting to like this damn planet. Is that weird of me? I asked him. Well, anyone can get used to their new circumstances, Sir Matthew. All it takes is a little time and a little willingness to adapt. Doughboy Field Test 4. Ranged weaponry cancelled. Inside the mysterious caverns that had brought them to this new world, Azric brought word of the day's events to Chieftain Grimscorn. His news was not well received.
You lost 72 raiders to a single enemy, and you dared to kill my observer, Ontish, Grimscorn growled at the carrying Azrek after striking the fool to the ground with a lightning-fast slap. Not only that, but you returned here. What if you led your enemy to us in your panic, Azrek? I thought you were more cunning orc than this. Your stupidity is appalling!
Great Chieftain, forgive me, please, said Azrek, said through bleeding lips.
I did not mean to displease you, but I had to let you know what I've discovered. This land is not fit for Hesketh. The sun burns too bright and pure, and is defended by that demon of steel. We cannot remain here. Should we encounter that beast again, our doom will be certain. This land will be mine, roared Grimscorn.
He seized Azrek by his throat in one massive hand, and before the eyes of all assembled, he squeezed the life from him. He choked him with such brutal strength that he felt bones shatter beneath his grip. But still, he squeezed and squeezed until he felt Azrek's head begin to separate from his neck. Only then did mighty Grimscorn let the corpse fall to the ground. He then turned to face his tribe and roared his unyielding dominance at them. Everyone gathered there dropped to their knees in supplication, acknowledging his superior strength.
Failure will never be tolerated, Grimscorn shouted. Betrayal will never go unpunished. Weakness will never be accepted. I will have these lands because I desire them. Nothing will stop me. No one will prevent my ascension. I do not fear this Iron Knight. I shit upon him. When night comes upon us once more, I will ride out myself and slay him. Grimscorn will rule all.
Grimscorn will rule all, his tribe shouted as one. Grimscorn licked his bloody fingers and smiled with quiet delight. He had been wanting to kill Azrael for quite some time, and was very happy that the fall had finally given him just cause.
Azrek had been another jealous fool, envious of Grimscorn's deep connection to their patron goddess, and the power that had been infused within him as a result. Now look where his bitterness had led him. How pathetic.
Prepare yourself, foolish knight,
Grimscorn said, as he slowly rubbed the blood over his face.
Yes, prepare yourself. The darkness comes for you soon. I will take such pleasure in gradually breaking you in half.
A railgun shot can travel at speeds exceeding Mach 8. Even without gunpowder or other detonative substances loaded within the shell, the sheer amount of kinetic energy generated by his flight would be sufficient to destroy a considerable area of space upon impact. The energy released would easily powder rock, pulverize steel, and turn flesh into ash. Today, one shot did all three. There wasn't enough remaining of Grimscorn or the other Hesketh to fill an empty bucket. That's just how science works. Railgun field test 1. All targets annihilated. Score 5 out of 5. Miles away, Matthew Sky happily chewed his steak and watched a few more fireworks before turning in for the night. He slept like a baby.